Hi, fifth graders. We are here to talk about drawing conclusions to kind of check in on your research. And this is the follow up lesson. Yesterday, Miss Abrams talked about paraphrasing your notes. You guys worked on looking at the notes you had so far, paraphrasing the main idea of things you've learned so far, and then identifying things that you still wonder. So today, we're going to work on drawing conclusions. We're thinking about the research that we're gathering. Is it all directing us toward our essential question? And remember, our essential question is, why should my topic be used in the new planet? So we want to make sure that all the information we're collecting in our notes is guiding us to the answer of, why should your topic be used in the new planet? So the steps to this lesson are: step 1, you're going to look at the paraphrase notes, what you've learned so far. Step 2, you're going to ask yourself, what information have I collected that supports my essential question? And you might want to think about what's cool about the information you have, what's unique about the information you have, or what's useful about the information you have. And if you do not know the answer to that question, you're going to go to step 2.5, which is go back, take some more notes, and find information that does tell you what is cool or unique or useful. Then you're going to be able to write down your conclusion statement, so write down why your topic should be used. And then step 4 is going to be continue looking for information that supports that idea. So just because you're paraphrasing and drawing conclusions now does not mean your research is over. So you're going to go back and look for more information. I'm going to show you what that looks like. So step 1 is going to be looking at the paraphrase notes. So I have the paraphrase notes that Miss Abrams started yesterday, but remember, Miss Abrams also identified some wonderings. So I went back in and read my research and tried to answer some of her wonderings. So I put in italics the parts that I added to Miss Abrams' wonderings. So I have so far that public buildings are in a specific part of town. Private houses were designed with the people in mind, and I added there were men's quarters and women's quarters, and rich people and poor people's houses were different. I also have that temples were fancy in design, and I added, because it was where the Greeks worshipped the gods and goddesses. Miss Abrams was wondering about the materials that they were using, so I added that temples were made of wood or mud bricks at the beginning, and later they used more permanent materials like stone to build. And Miss Abrams was also wondering, what is architecture? And I found that in one of my sources. I found that architecture is how people design and build structures in their society. So step 1 is reading those over. Then, thinking about all those notes, we're going to ask, what information have I collected that supports my essential question? So why should I bring Greek architecture with me to the new planet? So I'm going to think about this in this column here. So the first thing that I'm kind of noticing is that architecture is linked to religion. So it talked about building temples for the gods, and so architecture is kind of woven into the way that they worshipped. Also, when Miss Abrams was talking about they design their houses like with the courtyards and the open windows, architecture is also linked to geography. And those kind of make me think that like buildings are planned for a purpose. So based on who you're worshiping or where you live, people kind of build their structures based on those things. But really, the next question is the why Greece, because this is probably true about everybody's architecture. And if we're going to bring the Greek architecture to the New World, we're going to need to ask ourselves, why am I bringing specifically the Greek style of architecture? Because everyone's going to have architecture. So when I think about that, I'm going to think about what's cool about Greek architecture. And I'm remembering a fact that I read about the Parthenon. We still visit the Parthenon today, people who travel overseas. So Greek architecture is lasting. Oops. People still visit it today. So I think that's pretty cool. I also think something that's unique is that the Greeks use their own style of columns. So that's something that's unique, that's kind of just for Greece, those 3 styles of columns. And I'm also going to think about what's useful. Well, I know that those unique columns that the Greeks came up with, we still use those today. So I've kind of just thought about like why this topic is important. So I came to architecture is important because it's linked to religion and geography and buildings are planned for a purpose. But then I also thought about why Greek architecture was important. And even though it was a long time ago, it's still important today because people are still visiting these amazing things they've built, and we're using their ideas today when we build new buildings. So now I've gone back and I've written my conclusion statement. Now remember, if I couldn't answer that question of why is it important, I would need to go back to my research and kind of think that through. But I knew the answer, so I went to step 3. And then the last step is just continuing to look for information that supports my idea. So as I'm researching, I'm going to continue to ask more questions. Sorry, I'm going to try to bring this onto the same page for you guys. So I kind of have some more, everything I learn, I'm kind of asking myself some more questions. So I'm wondering, what are the details of the different types of columns? I know they use columns, but I don't really know the specific details about them. I'm also going to kind of go back to my my questions, and you guys can see here I have my list of questions. I know my list is on paper and Miss Abrams' class has it on the computer, but they're coded also, building basics, constructions, and impact. So we've kind of answered what is architecture. I know that they build temples and they build columns and they build houses, but I know that I have a resource that tells me about more of types of things they built. So I'm going to add that because I know that I have a resource that can help me with that. We kind of have materials and tools. I've kind of touched on are any of the buildings famous and have we used their ideas today? But I kind of want to know more details about the famous buildings. And then the building, the Parthenon. So I have 2 choices. I can go back to my cards because I know I have some information about the Parthenon right here, like the Parthenon was decorated with important moments in mythology. So I already know that I can kind of start gathering more information and taking more notes. I can also go back to my research grid. I know that when I took this Khan Academy article, what I wrote down was that it has categories for different types of buildings like temples, theaters, and stoas. So I can use this resource, this Khan Academy article, to gather more information about what other structures they built. So I have an article for that. I'm also wondering about the details of the different types of columns, and I have a whole article about this that I haven't even started taking notes on yet. So I can read this and take my color-coded notes on my note cards like I have here. And I was also wondering details about the famous building, the Parthenon. And I have even another article about this. So I can dig back into the articles that I already found. Now, if I didn't have information about these things, you could log back into our library database, our library catalog, which has ebooks, or the databases, all of which are in our Google Classroom. So the next step is just going to be, to review, I looked at my paraphrase notes. I thought about how does this help my essential question? Why is this unique, important, and useful? Why am I taking this specific idea to the new world? I wrote down my conclusion, and then I asked additional questions because I'm going to do some more research, take some more notes on this topic because I know I'm not finished. So what you're going to do is you're going to attach to this is going to be an organizer for you. You're going to follow these 4 steps about your topic. Good luck. I'm sure you'll be great.